All right, folks, welcome back to another edition of Cooking with AK. We're going to switch it up a little bit today. We're going to start a new series that I call Basics with AK. I got some feedback from some local folks, home chefs, people that wanted to know more about the basics of cooking. And today, where we're going to start is where I think every home cook should start, or any kind of cook, period. That's with a sharp knife. All right, so let's get right to it. I have two chef's knives. I've got a slightly dampened towel, and I have two whetstones. Okay, now whetstones are something that you can pick up online. You can pick up at restaurant stores, places like Wasserstrom and Columbus, specialty goods stores. But what you're going to do with these is this is the actual sharpening of the blade. Okay, so both of these stones have different grades, basically different levels of gradient on them. That's going to give you a different kind of sharpness on your blade. They both have a fine side and they both have a coarse side. We have the green, which is our finest gradient. Then we have red, which is a little bit more coarse. And this is our coarser stone over here. So we have blue, which is again coarser than red, and then black, which is our coarsest. Okay? So we're going to go through, we're going to sharpen on here, and then we're going to finish with our honer, or what some people call a sharpening rod. Now what'll happen after you use your blade enough is it'll start, certain parts of the blade might start to do that, or they might start to do that. So the process that we're going through here is to get that straight edge back, that V that we're looking for, so that we have a sharp blade, and most importantly a safe blade, because contrary to popular belief, a dull blade is a dangerous blade, a sharp blade is a safe blade. To give you an example here, this blade right now is not very sharp. If I were to chop an onion, let's say, an imaginary onion, that's what this is, and I push down, I got to push down with a lot more pressure because that blade's not that sharp. And if it's wet and I slip, from the dullness, comes back on my fingers, nobody's happy, right? So what we're going to do is get this nice and sharp. That way, when we are chopping that onion, that imaginary onion, it goes through without much effort and everybody's happy. The wet towel is just to give me a little bit more of a foundation so we don't have any slipping occur. Now, the most important part of sharpening is your angle. If we go perpendicular to the stone here, what is that? It's 90 degrees, correct? If we go half that, that's 45. If we go half again, it's 22.5 degrees, about 22. So it's about where we want to be. Okay, so we're going to apply a little bit of pressure using our 3 fingers here, and we're just going to guide the blade along the stone all the way through to the end. Okay, so you want to kind of start at the tip and then work your way through to the end, and we're going to do this on this side 10 times. We're going to flip it over, the same thing on the other side 10 more times. You want to be a little bit more careful with the coarse side and make sure that it doesn't make contact with the surface of the blade, because that could kind of scratch up your blade, which is not that big of a deal. It's more so just going to be an aesthetic kind of thing, but nobody wants that regardless. If you look straight down the blade there, I think you'll see that we're pretty much straight. We're going to hone this in a minute, but before we hone this one, I want to go ahead and hone my brand new knife, because I've just literally got this in the mail today. I'm very excited to use it. This is made by a company called Victorinox. It's a Swedish knife maker. Been around for over 100 years. We're not sponsored by Victorinox, but if they decide that we're looking for sponsors, if they're interested, if they catch wind of this video, we will happily have a conversation. We'll sit down, we'll talk some stuff out. So this blade, I'm sure, is very sharp. Like I said, I just got it today. I don't want to take it through the whetstones because that could just damage it. It's factory fresh, but I am going to hone it. Now this is a honing rod or a sharpening rod. Most of you at home probably have these in your blocks, and you want to use this pretty much every time you use your knife. Now, a lot of fancy chefs, you'll see them doing this kind of thing, and you probably see me do it myself actually, but that's really not the right way to do it unless you get pretty good at it. So we're going to do it the proper way, which is going straight down, 90-degree angle right there against the towel. Again, this is going to stay in place. And we're going to do the same thing. Okay, it's just right about where we want to be at. And we're just going to start at the back, and we're going to pull the blade towards us. We're going to do it again, 10 times on each side. You want to rush this, take it nice and slow. And another way you can look at this, if numbers freak you out and you're just not really into that whole thing, it's just like pretend you're slicing off a piece of meat, right? So you're just coming down, and you're slicing it off. It's falling off in layers. You're going to build yourself a nice pastrami sandwich. We happen to have a carrot here. I'm not sure where it came from, but somebody must have known we would be sharpening knives today. And just watch how easily this goes through the carrot. I've heard of that term about a hot knife through butter, right? Well, this is a brand new Victorinox knife through a carrot. That pretty much sums it up. I know this seems like a lot of work to get a sharp knife at home, but trust me when I say that it's worth it, not only for chopping and cutting and performance purposes, but again, safety is so important. And if you get a good knife, if you take care of it, it's going to last you a very long time too, which is also why it's important to have a kind of blade guard like this. I hope you guys learned a few things here. As usual with all my videos, if you have any questions, please post them in the comment section. And next time, on the next episode of Basics with AK, we'll use these knives. Besides chopping up a carrot, we'll get some other stuff going, some onions, some peppers. I'll show you a little bit about how all that goes. All right, catch you next time.